From the Land of the Moon is a French film directed by Nicole Garcia and released in 2016. The movie follows the life of a young woman named Gabrielle, who is determined to find true love despite the societal norms and expectations of her time. As the movie starts, Gabrielle is driving down, with her husband and her son, to another town for a music competition he is supposed to participate in. When they get to the new town, she recognizes the name of a street which it turns out her past lover resides in, and she quickly asks to be dropped and goes to find his house. She then eventually sees the name of her past lover, Andre, on a building. She decides to check for him. As she reaches his house and sees his name, Gabrielle is heartbroken and decides to take a walk down memory lane. The movie then takes the audience back to Gabrielle's childhood. She is a young girl who develops a crush on her teacher, who gives her a book as a gift. Gabrielle sees this gesture as a sign of affection and becomes infatuated with him. Despite him being married, Gabrielle writes a very detailed letter expressing her love for him and hands it to him during a public meeting. He refuses her affection, which leaves Gabrielle embarrassed and humiliated in front of everyone. She runs away in tears, feeling rejected and ashamed. After Gabrielle's embarrassing encounter with Mr. Jones, she falls into a deep depression and becomes increasingly distant from her family and friends. One day, while visiting her father's farm, she falls ill and is found lying unconscious in a field. Her family is extremely worried and calls for medical help. The doctor who examines Gabrielle notices that her behavior is odd and erratic, and suspects that she may be suffering from a mental illness. He recommends that she be sent to a mental institution for treatment, but Gabrielle's parents are reluctant to take this step. Instead, they decide that the only way to keep Gabrielle grounded and ensure that she receives the proper care is to marry her off. Gabrielle is promised to be married to a local bricklayer named Jose. Although her parents are very well-to-do, they had previously promised to help Jose get established if he agrees to marry Gabrielle. When Gabrielle learns that her parents have arranged for her to marry Jose, she is outraged and refuses to go through with it. She argues with her parents and runs off, determined not to be forced into a marriage she does not want. Her mother, however, is determined to make the marriage work and spends a lot of time talking to Gabrielle. She convinces Gabrielle that marrying Jose is the best thing for her future, and that they will be able to make the most of their situation if they work together. Reluctantly, Gabrielle agrees to marry Jose and decides to talk to him first before making a final decision. She meets with Jose and tells him that she will never love him and that he will be unhappy with her, but he is determined to go ahead with the arranged marriage. Gabrielle reluctantly agrees, knowing that she has no other options. After they get married, Gabrielle makes Jose's life a living hell. She is rude and unkind to him, refusing to show him any affection or respect. Despite her behavior, however, her parents follow through on their promise to help Jose establish his business, and it begins to thrive. Despite their success, neither Gabrielle nor Jose is happy. Gabrielle is still resentful of being forced into the marriage, and Jose is unhappy because he knows that Gabrielle does not love him. Over time, Gabrielle begins to soften towards Jose and starts to see the good in him, even if she will never truly love him. Despite this realization, however, Gabrielle and Jose's marriage remains strained and unhappy. As Gabrielle and Jose's marriage becomes more strained, Gabrielle becomes increasingly distant and refuses to have any physical contact with him. One day, she tells him outright that she will never sleep with him and that he should go and get intimacy wherever he wants to get it from. Jose is hurt by Gabrielle's words, but eventually begins to go to another town to seek the company of One day, Gabrielle asks him how much he pays for the services of the and he tells her that he pays 200 euros. Feeling hurt and betrayed, Gabrielle decides to take matters into her own hands. The next time Jose wants to go to the other town, she stops him after dressing up for him and tells him not to go. Instead, she tells him to keep the money on the counter for her. That night, Gabrielle and Jose finally get intimate for the first time. Gabrielle's health deteriorates further as she continues to refuse to consummate her marriage with Jose. She begins to experience intense pain in her lower abdomen. Gabrielle becomes pregnant without realizing it, and one day when she and Jose go to see a new house, she has a fit and suffers a miscarriage. She is taken to the doctor, where she finds out that she is not only pregnant, but also has kidney stones. The doctor advises her to seek treatment at a specialized cure spa, where she can receive the care and attention she needs to manage her conditions. However, Gabrielle is initially hesitant to go, as she doesn't want the child and thinks the spa is too expensive. Despite her protests, Jose insists on taking her to the cure spa. He is determined to start a family and sees this as their chance to make it happen. Gabrielle reluctantly agrees to go with him, but remains resistant to the idea of having a child. Upon arriving at the cure spa, Gabrielle feels a sense of sadness and loneliness. She is checked into her room and told that she will be staying there for the next 6 weeks. Jose tries to reassure her that she will be happy at the spa, as she will have time to relax and be alone with her thoughts. However, Gabrielle finds the spa to be very boring and tedious. Her daily routine consists of drinking water and taking baths, with little else to occupy her time. she begins to feel even more isolated and alone. However, she finds solace in her interactions with one of the spa's helpers, a kind and gentle woman who takes the time to talk to her and offer words of comfort. Through their conversations, Gabrielle begins to open up about her fears and insecurities. As Gabrielle continues to follow Agostino on her rounds, she meets Andre, another patient at the spa. She learns that he is a veteran who fought in the Indochina War and is now suffering from a serious illness. Despite his pain, Andre remains stoic and reserved. Gabrielle is immediately intrigued by Andre and his story. She is drawn to his strength and resilience, and feels a sense of kinship with him as someone who has also faced difficult challenges in her life. As she spends more time with Andre, Gabrielle begins to open up to him about her own struggles and fears. She finds solace in their conversations, and is grateful for his understanding and support. Despite their differences in background, Gabrielle and Andre develop a deep and meaningful connection. They share their hopes and dreams, and find comfort in each other's company. As Gabrielle and Andre continue to bond over their shared passion for art, Gabrielle becomes more and more emotionally attached to him. She finds herself seeking him out more often and spending more time with him than with anyone else at the spa. Despite her growing feelings for Andre, Gabrielle remains distant and cold towards her husband whenever he visits. This behavior puzzles the other patients and staff at the spa, who cannot understand why Gabrielle is so cold towards such a kind man. As their bond deepens, Andre gives Gabrielle a book as a gift, which she initially sees as a sign of flirtation. However, she soon realizes that Andre is a sincere and caring person who is genuinely interested in her as a person. Gabrielle begins to confide in Andre and share her deepest thoughts and feelings with him, something she had never done with anyone before. Their conversations become more intimate and personal as Gabrielle realizes that she is falling in love with Andre. She helps him one night when he is in pain, and takes care of him, but soon enough one morning, she comes to check on him and doesn't find him in his room. She looks through the window and finds out that he has been taken by the army. She did not know this was going to happen and didn't know where he had been taken to. She quickly goes outside and tries to follow the ambulance that was taking him. She ends up falling on the floor. After that incident, she doesn't come out for the next 3 days as she is sad that he had left her just like that. During those 3 days, Gabrielle refuses to eat or come out of her room, consumed by her grief over Andre's sudden departure. Her parents and Jose are worried about her and try to coax her out, but she remains resolute. On the 4th day, Agostino comes to visit her and convinces her to eat something. Gabrielle then confides in her about what happened to Andre and how much she misses him. Agostino listens patiently and tries to comfort her as best as she can. After some time, Gabrielle's husband comes to visit her at the spa, but she is still cold towards him. He accuses her of being mean and leaves. Eventually, Andre returns to the spa, much to Gabrielle's delight. He confesses to her that he came back because he couldn't stop thinking about their time together, and that it had consumed him. Gabrielle admits that she feels the same way and they share a moment together. Andre then reveals to Gabrielle that he had been taken to a facility in Lyon by the army, and had received a blood transfusion that made him better. Gabrielle is overjoyed to hear that Andre is feeling better and that he has returned to her. They spend more time together and bond even further over their shared love of art and music. However, their happiness is short-lived as they both realize that they will soon have to leave the spa and return to their regular lives. Later, she had told him that they should go on a walk into the woods. While they are there, she tries to undress in front of him with the aim of getting intimate with him, but he refuses, reminding her that she was married, and that what she was saying they should do was taboo. Gabrielle's frustration and anger grow as Andre refuses her advances, and she begins to question the norms and expectations placed on her as a married woman. She feels trapped and suffocated by her societal role and longs for the freedom to act on her desires. Andre, however, reminds her of the consequences and societal judgments that come with breaking such taboos. Despite this, Gabrielle continues to push the boundaries of their relationship, further blurring the lines between what is socially acceptable and what she desires. After their argument in the woods, Gabrielle runs away and Andre goes after her, trying to calm her down. Gabrielle opens up to Andre about her troubled marriage and how she feels trapped in her life. Andre listens to her and comforts her, telling her that he understands how she feels and that he cares about her. Eventually, they find a secluded spot and they finally give in to their feelings and get intimate. From that moment on, they become even closer and spend all their time together, ignoring the fact that Gabrielle is still married. As the doctor is preparing her discharge, Gabrielle tries to ask if she could stay a little longer. She tells him that she is scared to leave and that she is not ready to go home. The doctor tries to comfort her by telling her that it is normal to feel that way and that it will take some time to adjust. However, he also reminds her that staying longer in the hospital is not necessary, as she has fully recovered. Gabrielle still feels anxious and asks the doctor if he could call her husband and ask him to come later, but the doctor informs her that he has already called her husband, and he will be coming the next day to take her home. She quickly goes to Andre's room and finds him all packed. She tells him that her husband was coming to get her and she didn't want to go, and that she would rather run away with him. He tells her he was not interested in running and that he had been waiting for her because he was also leaving. As she speaks to Andre, tears stream down her face. She is torn between her love for Andre and her loyalty to her husband. Andre tries to comfort her, telling her that he understands how she feels and that he also wishes things were different. However, he insists that they cannot run away together, as it would only cause more problems for both of them. Instead, he suggests that they wait for the right time to be together and promises to come for her as soon as he can. As they say their goodbyes, she hugs Andre tightly, feeling both sad and hopeful. She watches him leave, hoping that their paths will cross again soon. As she makes her way back to her room, she feels conflicted about leaving Andre behind. She agrees and goes back with her husband with the idea that Andre was going to eventually come back for her. When she comes back, she finds out that she is pregnant and she reveals that it was definitely for Andre. And this makes her happy. She begins to write letters to him, telling him that she had refused to unpack because she had been expecting that he would come get her. As she writes more letters to Andre, she becomes more and more anxious and frustrated that he has not responded. She tries to distract herself with other activities, but her thoughts keep returning to Andre and the possibility of him returning for her. As the months go by and she grows more visibly pregnant, her husband becomes increasingly distant, and she realizes that their marriage is not as strong as she had hoped. Despite her growing anxiety and uncertainty, she continues to write letters to Andre, pouring out her heart to him and expressing her hopes and fears for their future. She feels increasingly isolated and alone, but still clings to the hope that Andre will eventually come back for her and their child. As her due date approaches, she becomes more and more anxious, wondering what will happen to her and her baby if Andre never comes back. As she tells Jose about her love for Andre and how he is the father of her child, he becomes furious and clenches his fists, showing signs that he might hurt her. However, he manages to control his anger and lets it go, not wanting to cause any harm to her. Despite his attempt to keep calm, his eyes reflect his disappointment and hurt as he processes the news. He pushes her away and walks out of the room, unable to bear the news of his wife's infidelity. Eventually, she stops writing letters to Andre after being frustrated. Finally, she begins to lose her mind. One day, Jose meets her with something in his hands and it turns out it was all of her letter. And because of that she gets angry and tries to enter the ocean. As she tries to enter the ocean, Jose grabs her and stops her. She struggles, she wants to be with Andre, but Andre is gone and Jose is the only one that is there for her. She breaks down in tears and finally relents, allowing him to lead her back to the house. As the scene shifts to when she has her child, she is lying in a hospital bed looking miserable and refusing to hold or kiss her newborn baby. Jose is seen standing beside her, looking concerned and trying to comfort her. Eventually, she relents and kisses the baby before passing him to Jose, who holds the child lovingly. The movie then jumps forward in time again, and her son is now a young child. He is in the woods while they are having a picnic. She and her sister are talking about their married life. Her sister tells her she is thinking of divorcing her husband and she tells her they do not divorce in their family. As they continue their conversation, her sister confesses that she envies her for having a child and a husband who takes care of her. She tells her that she feels lonely and unloved in her own marriage. Gabrielle, on the other hand, expresses her discontentment with her life, saying that she feels trapped and unfulfilled. Her sister tries to comfort her, telling her that she has a beautiful son and a husband who loves her. However, she is not convinced and seems lost in thought, until Jose and her son come to join them. Then the movie jumps again to when her son is now a teenager. As he plays the piano, the family gathers around him in awe. His fingers dance across the keys with practiced ease, filling the room with the intricate melodies of classical music. His mother watches him with pride, amazed at how much he has grown and developed as a musician over the years. As the song comes to an end, the family erupts into applause, cheering for the young pianist. His father pats him on the back, telling him how proud he is of his talent. The teenager smiles, feeling a sense of accomplishment and happiness that he has brought joy to his family through his music. The family drives down a long winding road, surrounded by lush landscape on either side. The air is filled with the sweet smell of blooming flowers, and the sun is shining down on them in all its glory. Jose is driving, and he keeps glancing over at her son in the rearview mirror, a look of both pride and nervousness on his face. He is sitting in the back seat, eating a snack. Gabrielle, who is sitting in the front passenger seat, turns around to look at the boy, smiling warmly at him as they head to the music competition. When she goes up to the apartment that had Andrei Sovich's name, unable to shake the memories of Andrei Sovich and their time together at the spa, she decides to visit his apartment in hopes of seeing him once again. As she knocks on the door, she is surprised to see Andrei's assistant's answer, who immediately recognizes her from the spa. The woman tells the assistant that she has come to see Andrei, but the assistant's face turns solemn as he delivers the devastating news. The assistant tells the woman that Andrei's condition had worsened during their time at the spa. He explains that Andrei had passed away peacefully in his sleep at a hospital in Lyon. Gabrielle is in shock, unable to reconcile this news with her memories of Andrei. She remembers spending time with him at the spa, feeling his vitality and zest for life. She insists to the assistant that this can't be true, that she had seen Andrei alive and well at the spa, that he had returned from Lyon for her. The assistant gently explains that what she had witnessed was likely the ambulance that had taken Andre's body away from the spa. He assures her that Andre had not returned to the spa after leaving for Lyon, and that he had passed away shortly after arriving there. The woman finds it hard to believe, her mind racing with questions and confusion. The movie shifts to a scene where the woman's son is playing the piano in a large auditorium, with her husband Jose watching him with a proud smile on his face. As her son's performance continues, the scene cuts to the woman walking alone beside a nearby river, looking lost and sad. Despite the beauty of the surroundings, she is unable to appreciate it, her mind preoccupied with worries. As the son's piano piece reaches its crescendo, Gabrielle rushes towards the auditorium, determined to watch the end of her son's performance. But as she arrives, she finds that the performance has already finished, and the audience is entirely gone. Gabrielle is crestfallen, realizing that she has missed this special moment in her son's life. After searching for her husband and son at the music competition venue, the woman is unable to locate them. Feeling discouraged and exhausted, she decides to return to their hotel. As she enters the lobby, she sees her husband, Jose, sitting in the waiting area. Without wasting any time, she asks Jose how their son's performance went, her heart beating with anticipation. Jose turns to her without a smile on his face and tells her that their son had won second place in the competition. Jose asks Gabrielle if she found anything significant in her lover's apartment. Before she can respond, he abruptly suggests that they leave. As they make their way back home, the woman's husband, Jose, begins to recount his meeting with Andre, the woman's former lover. He shares the details of their conversation and the impressions he formed during the encounter. The woman listens to Jose's account, but her mind remains occupied by the memories and emotions that the apartment had evoked in her. Unaware of Gabrielle's identity, Andre had confided in Jose that he had deep feelings for her but was unable to love her in the way she deserved. He had also shared that he was unable to engage in sexual intimacy with her due to difficulties with getting an erection. This conversation occurred before Andre realized that Jose was Gabrielle's husband. When Andre had asked Jose who he had come to see, Jose had replied that he had come to see his wife, revealing the connection between the three of them. Jose then reveals to Gabrielle that he had been unable to sleep that night at the guest house, and had returned to her room that same night to make love to her. He goes on to recount that he had witnessed her running after the ambulance that transported Andre's body away the next morning, as he had been outside the spa smoking at the time. Despite her doubts and suspicions that she is being lied to, the woman decides to revisit her old box in the middle of the night to check the supposed photograph she had taken with Andre after his return from Lyon. However, upon examining the picture closely, she realizes that it is just a photo of herself sitting next to an empty chair, leading her to accept the truth about Andre's death and her own reality. Or otherwise, delusion of grandeur. As she gazes at the photo, the woman finally comes to the painful realization that she had been living a lie all along. Distraught and confused, she searches for Jose and finds him standing by the shore. She confronts him, demanding to know why he had kept the truth from her all this time. Jose admits that he wanted her to move on with her life in whichever way she chose. The movie concludes with Gabrielle following Jose to his hometown,